In early 1940, the front lines of Europe were silent. For months, soldiers had waited in their trenches as a false sense of peace settled over the continent. The period history calls the phony war. While the borders remained quiet, Adolf Hitler was fixed on a single resource. He needed Swedish iron ore to build his tanks and planes. Without a steady supply of this ore, the German war machine would stall. This is an aerial photograph of the port at Narvik. Its coastal position made it the only shipping route for iron ore that remained unfrozen during winter. If the British Navy seized those rail lines and the docks they fed, Germany's factories would run dry of raw materials within months. To Hitler, a preemptive strike was the only way to keep his factories running. On April 9, 1940, the silence broke. Between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m., German forces struck Denmark and Norway simultaneously, without any warning or formal declaration of war. This was the debut of a new tactical doctrine. For the first time, a military was able to coordinate air, sea, and land forces to strike a single objective at the same time. This maneuver relied on paratroopers. Hundreds of soldiers were dropped directly onto the target, capturing bridges and airfields before the defending armies could even reach for their rifles. This lightning-fast coordination, Blitzkrieg, was designed to paralyze the target nation. By the time the leadership realized they were being invaded, the German military had already seized the infrastructure needed to stop them. In Denmark, the borders were breached before dawn. German armor and aircraft flooded across the frontier, meeting almost no resistance. The Danish king faced a grim choice. His military was outmatched, and fighting back would guarantee the destruction of his cities and the death of his citizens. Within 6 hours of the first strike, Denmark surrendered. This photograph captures the administrative takeover that followed, with soldiers nailing surrender proclamations to trees in public squares. It was the fastest capitulation of the war. Denmark's fall served as a demonstration of Germany's new tactical speed. Overwhelming force had effectively ended a war before it could truly begin. To the north, the invasion faced a much more aggressive reaction. The German naval fleet attempted to reach the Norwegian capital by navigating the narrow Oslo fjord, seen here from above. Blocking their path was the Oscarsborg fortress. Despite having only 40-year-old cannons at their disposal, the Norwegian defenders opened fire as the German ships moved through the darkness. One of those shells struck the Blücher. This billion-dollar heavy cruiser was the pride of the fleet, but the strike set it ablaze and sent it to the bottom of the fjord along with its landing troops. This single act of defiance ruined the German schedule. It gave the Norwegian king just enough time to flee the capital and transform a planned occupation into a grueling 2-month campaign. Britain and France rushed troops to the mountains to support the Norwegians, but they were met with a disorganized response. Units were frequently moved without clear objectives, and the Allied commanders struggled to match the German pace. The failure in Norway triggered a political crisis in London. The military embarrassment forced Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain to resign. Winston Churchill took power as a result of the disaster, but the campaign proved that traditional Allied armies were not yet equipped to handle the speed of a modern invasion. By June 10th, the Allied forces withdrew, and all of Norway fell under German occupation. Germany won, but the cost was high. They lost several destroyers and cruisers, and a portion of their U-boat fleet was destroyed in the process. Despite those losses, Hitler gained 2 massive advantages. This map demonstrates how the Norwegian coast allowed U-boats to extend their reach across the Atlantic, while the inland mines provided a lifetime of iron ore for German factories. Controlling the North Sea gave Germany the resources and momentum needed to pivot their attention toward the invasion of France and Russia. Beyond the strategic outcome, the occupation left an enduring human story. King Haakon VII escaped the initial invasion and made his way to Britain, famously fleeing through the snowy forests to avoid capture. From exile, he broadcasted to his people, urging them to keep their spirits high and to never accept the German occupation as final. In response, a massive underground movement formed. Ordinary citizens, without uniforms or formal training, began a years-long campaign of sabotage and intelligence gathering against the occupation forces. April 9th showed the world how a modern military could seize a nation in hours. But Norway's response proved that while an army can take the land, they can never truly conquer a people who refuse to surrender.